Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Deck Musings. So where are we on this timeline through Standard? Well, we're here. So this week I'm going to be looking at a deck from Worlds, which took place in December of 2007 here. And if I look down the list here, it is definitely one of the decks on here, although I think it had a slightly different name maybe at the time. But yeah. Some interesting decks. And we'll have a look at them as we just sort of do a bit of an overview of Worlds, the top 8 from Worlds. So Standard is looking interesting. As I've said on previous episodes, Worlds got later in the year, and as a consequence that meant that it incorporated the first set of the next block. But also it meant that the block, a block had just rotated out. So in this case we would have lost the whole of Ravnica block. We've still got this Singleton Cold Snap set, and then we've got the whole of the Time Spiral block and the recently added 10th edition, which was the last core set where there was a 2-year lifespan on the core set. Because then we get, after 10th edition, we get into M10 territory 2 years down the line, and then it's like a core set every year for a number of years before they then did away with core sets. So in terms of the year, we're at our sort of lowest amount of cards in Standard either side. So we go from maxing out, because we've got everything, 2 blocks and a core set, to minning out, I suppose, and then stuff slowly starts to come in. So we got Lorwyn, then Morning Tide. It's going to be an interesting few episodes actually, because this was these 2 like mini block things going on. So we had Lorwyn, Morning Tide, Shadowmoor, and Eventide. So 4 sets coming in. So when we get up to here, which is July to October of the following year, that's going to be really large Standard. And then suddenly, boom, we lose Cold Snap and the Time Spiral block in one hit, and it drops right down. So that's going to be fascinating when we get up to there, like 4 or 5 weeks from now. Anyway, let's go back to here. So, what can we say about the tournament? So there's Worlds 2007 in New York. We're going to go with the winning deck, Doran Rock deck. I think it's also called Doran Aggro. What else was here? Well, there's a couple of Dragonstorm decks. Weirdly, I don't know why, on MTG Top 8 it doesn't show the sideboard for this one. Not sure why. So there were a couple of variations there of Dragonstorm. I'm trying to look and see if there's actually any difference between the two. It's a bit difficult to see because of the way it's sort of spread out here. But Incinerate, Riftbolt, Rite of Flame. Well, in fact, they are pretty much identical, aren't they? The only difference is, Tarfire is in the deck in that first one, but not in the second one. But yeah, it's pretty close really. Well, it looks like it is really only pretty much one card different in terms of the different cards. Obviously there's slight variations in the amount of cards. And we've got a Mannequin deck. It's a namesake card, and Yeah, we'll see in a moment, like for this particular deck, for the Doran Rock deck, yeah, what sort of cards we're seeing in Lorwyn. But if you're familiar with the set, you can probably already spot various cards in here from Lorwyn. Got 2 elves decks, not surprising. There was quite a number of elves in Lorwyn. And then a couple of, I don't know if you call them regular rock decks. So these were rock decks without, looks like they don't have Doran in them. Yeah. So I mean, historically we have looked at rock decks before, and you'll see in a moment, you know, what's in there, what it might contain. But you know, you've got disruption in there. You've got card advantage over a period of time, and then I think the early ones, there was you know, token generation, which you can see in this as well. And it'll be interesting when we look at this. It's interesting with this, and one of the reasons why I like doing this, you know, having a look at it on a curve, is you can sort of see where the different parts of the deck, the different composition, the different components of the deck become available to the player, and whether or not there's ways in which that can be sped up. And you'll see in a moment when we look at this. So yeah, you know, aggro control deck, I think in terms of the archetype area where it is. So yeah, elements of aggression with control tactics. So let's look at the creatures first. So straight away you can see we have, you know, our 1-drops. So early turns, you know, we're going to be building up our mana base. So handily we've got Birds of Paradise. This is a 3-colour deck, so black, green, white. We have Birds of Paradise, which is capable of generating mana of any colour, but it is a 0/1, so you know, it's pretty vulnerable to removal. We also have Llanowar Elves, another 1-drop, another green 1-drop, but that'll only generate green mana. I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I just wanted to scroll down and show you where the other 1-drops are. There are some more down here. Sorceries. So we've actually got 4 Thoughtseize in the deck. Single black. Target player reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. You lose 2 life. So you got hand disruption fairly early on. So mana generation, hand disruption, available either or turn 1. So, and what's that? Was that 4 copies actually? So that's, you know, we've got, yeah, 4, and then the other 7 up here. Yeah. So 11 cards out of the deck are 1-drops. Then we move on to Tarmogoyf, which we've seen quite a few times now. So power is equal to the number of card types among cards in all graveyards, and its toughness is equal to the number +1. Now that +1 on the toughness is, you know, interesting and significant when we talk about Doran. So we've got 4 copies of Doran in the Siege Tower. So clearly the deck's designed to want to be able to play that with 4 copies in it, you know, high probability of it being in there, as high as it can be. But of course it's a legendary creature, so, you know, worst case scenario, you could end up with multiple copies in your hand. And so of course you can only have 1 copy on the battlefield. At that point it was, you know, 1 copy across the board. Now obviously the legendary rules changed, and you can have 1 copy, as long as only 1 copy on your side of the board, or 1 copy on the other side, it's okay. But anytime an additional copy comes in, it blows up one of the copies, the original. I think at that point I always get confused at what point in Magic it was either blowing up the original. I mean, I'm assuming it blows up the original one and is replaced with the newer version. I don't know if there was ever a point in Magic where you could sort of decide which way you wanted to do it. But of course the other thing you can do is, if you've got a duplicate copy of it and you're in a position to discard it, then you just discard the copy maybe. Again, one of those things where you've just got to decide, I suppose, based on the board state and what you're going up against as to what you do about having multiple copies at your disposal, either because there's a copy on the battlefield and you've got one in the hand, or you've got two copies in your hand, or whatever. Yeah. So, going up a bit further, we've got Hypnotic Specter. So another card in here that's very disruptive. Whenever it deals damage to an opponent, that player discards a card at random. So anything here which is either blowing stuff up or discarding cards is going to help out with Tarmogoyf potentially. And remember this as well, it's the different card types that it's counting on, and across all graveyards as well. We've got 4 copies of Ohran Viper, 1 and 2 green. It's a 1/3 snow creature snake, and whenever it deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature at the end of combat. So it's going to be interesting when we go down the rabbit hole on this and see how that lines up against, say, Death Touch. Whenever Ohran Viper deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. And it's a 1/3. And again, interesting because of this ability on Doran, where each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So this is a 0/5, but when it swings, it's still a 0/5, but the combat damage is 5. And this is handy. There are other cards in Magic which actually swap the power and toughness, but this doesn't do that. It just affects the combat damage and bases it on toughness. So yeah, you can see here when we swing, we're doing 3 combat damage. And then we've got 3 copies of Shriekmaw, 4 and a black, 3/2. It's got fear. When it comes into play, you can destroy a target non-artifact, non-black creature. And that you have to, that's a, it's no, what's the word? It's not a may. So destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature. But you can also evoke it. So 1 and a black, you just get the spell pot here. You may play this spell for its evoke cost. If you do, it's sacrificed when it comes into play. So again, interesting with the Tarmogoyf. Instant wise, we have 2 Nameless Inversions. So it's a tribal instant shapeshifter changeling. It's 1 on a black. And target creature gets +3/-3 and loses all creature types until end of turn. So you can use it as a removal. You can use it to sap a creature's toughness, but it will buff its power. So again, to think about how you're going to use that. And then we've got 2 Eyeblights ending. So it's an interesting piece of removal. It's a 3-drop. It destroys target non-elf creature. So land, again, this is a period of pretty complicated land bases. We've got 1 Brushland, which is doing green-white, but at the cost of 1 damage to you. but you can tap it for colourless mana. We've got 3 Caves of Koilos, so that taps for 1 colourless mana, and again, if you want the white or black, you've got to take 1 damage. So the white-black version of this. There's only 1 forest in here. There's 2 Gemstone Mines, so this is coming courtesy of the time-shifted card. And it comes into play with 3 mining counters on it. Remove a mining counter from Gemstone Mine, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. If there are no mining counters on Gemstone Mine, sacrifice it. So yeah, this is not one that sort of sticks around, so you can have no counters on it and it just sits there, and then you can sort of replenish it at a later date if you had a means to do that. I don't know if the deck has a means to do that anyway. But in this deck, of course, it's advantageous when it does go into the graveyard, because it's going to help with buffing our Tarmogoyf if we don't have any other lands in there already. 4 Gilt-Leaf Palaces. So when this comes into play, you may reveal an elf card from your hand. If you don't, Gilt-Leaf Palace comes into play tapped. So this is going to be an interesting one to look at. There's a cycle of these in the set in Lorwyn. Tap, add black or green to your mana pool. Tap, pay 1 life, add green or white to your mana pool. 1 tap, sacrifice Horizon Canopy, draw a card, so 1 Horizon Canopy. 4 Llanowar Wastes, so the black-green version of these. Again, you can see these are from 10th edition. We've got a number of cards here from 10th. 1 Pendelhaven, which was a time-shifted card. This buffs creatures, +1, +2. Again, very useful in this deck when we've got asymmetric pump, where the higher value is on the toughness. Again, because of the presence of Doran and its ability. 4 Treetop Villages, another 10th edition card, comes into play tapped, taps for green mana, but you can turn it into a 3/3 green 8 creature with trample until end of turn for 1 and a green. And then we've got 2 copies of Urborg, which we've seen loads of times now in various decks. Each land is a swamp in addition to its other land types. So it doesn't swap over completely everything to a swamp, it just makes everything a swamp as well. So, here's something new. Lorwyn, appearance of Planeswalkers. I believe these were supposed to appear in the Future Sight set, but weren't ready, I suppose. So, 2 and 2 green for Garruk Wildspeaker, 3 loyalty, +1 untap 2 target lands, -1 put a 3/3 green beast creature token into play, and -4 creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. 1 Liliana Vess, 3 and 2 black, it's 5 loyalty, +1 target player discards a card, so more disruption. -2, search your library for a card, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it, so some tutoring to the top of the library. And then this -8 ability, put all creature cards in all graveyards into play under your control. So yeah, 2 very useful utility-wise Planeswalkers in this deck. And you'll notice there's actually 3 copies of Garruk, and these cards also are subject to the legendary rule of the time. 4 Thoughtseize, which we saw already. And then there's actually 2 Profane Commands in here as well, X and 2 black. So you get to choose 2. Target player loses X life, or return target creature card with converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to play, or target creature gets -X until end of turn, or X target creatures gain fear until end of turn. So really cool utility on this. So you've got life drain on here, you've got recursion, graveyard recursion, you have removal, or depletion, but, like a combat, it's sorcery speed actually, so you can't do a combat trick. But yeah, removal, and then giving your creatures, fear. So I imagine, yeah, that could be quite interesting as if that was an instant speed. I think. Anyway, fortunately, these commands are at sorcery. It's going to be cool this episode. I've been looking forward to this because there's going to be lots of interesting rabbit holes to go down. Maybe types of cards we haven't seen before. However, there seem to be certain usual suspects here that were appearing in sideboards fairly regularly at this point in time. So I think we're going to end up probably skipping over quite a few of these because there's quite a lot of cards in the deck to talk about. So I'll probably go these quite fast in terms of the rabbit hole. But you can see we've got 3 Rift Sweepers that we've seen multiple weeks now in different decks. 1 and a green, 2/2. When it comes into play, choose target face-up card that's removed from the game. Its owner shuffles it into his or her library. So yeah, a way of interacting with the Exile Zone. We've got 2 Loxodon Warhammers from 10th edition. 3 to cast, and the equipped creature gets +3/+0 and has lifelink and trample. And you equip for 3. There's a Oblivion Ring with this particular artwork. So 2 and a white. When it comes into play, remove another target non-land permanent from the game. When it leaves play, return the removed card to play under its owner's control. It's an enchantment. There's just 1 copy of that. 2 Stupids, which we've seen in previous weeks. 2 and a black. Target opponent discards a card at random, then discards a card. So double discard. And this comes from the time-shifted slot. We've got 2 Serrated Arrows, 4 to cast, also from the time-shifted slot. When it comes into play, it has 3 arrowhead counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are no arrowhead counters on Serrated Arrows, sacrifice it. Tap, remove an arrowhead counter from Serrated Arrows. Put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. I'm not seeing any way of manipulating counters here, I don't think. So, none of that. But did we waive? I mean, a lot of that stuff, I'm assuming did we have... Where are we? Yeah, we would have lost, wouldn't we? Because there was counter manipulation in Ravnica, but yeah, we've lost a number of cards that were able to do that, I suppose. I don't know as a whole what standard looked like in terms of being able to replenish counters on things. So anyway. At the beginning of upkeep, you may have target opponent discard a card at random. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you may put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token into play. It's 4/4, 3 black-green, so quite high casting cost. We've got an additional Shriekmaw in here, which we've seen already. And then right up high end of the curve, we've got 2 copies of Cloud Thresher, 2 and 4 green. One of many interesting elementals in Lorwyn and the block generally. It's flash with reach. It's a 7/7, and when it comes into play, it deals 2 damage to each creature with flying and each player. You can evoke it for 2 and 2 green and just get this bit. So, yeah, look at that. So most of our cards are here between 1 and 3 casting cost. And yeah, so green, black with a splash of white, but our mana base is more than capable of producing, the mana. What's it generating? Beasts and elf warriors. Right, let's have a look. So, is it the case that I think, yeah, so it only featured 1 basic land, which is interesting. So, that's what our forests look like. So that's why I've only featured these. Very nice. Yeah, the Lorwyn artwork's pretty cool. I'll have to make sure we get a look at... should we do that now, actually? Yeah, let's do that. Let's look at all the artwork for the... oops. Type. Basic. There we go. Some really very colourful lands here, isn't there? The swamp and... oh, is it the islands? And if we... yeah, we'll be looking at Lorwyn. So I'm just trying to think. Yeah, we'll be looking at some Lorwyn cards on Friday, actually. I'm going to go through, revisit the binder. And it'd be interesting to see what sort of artwork provides a backdrop for the non-land cards. Because a lot of the artwork that was behind the scenes for the cards, for creatures, things like that, mirrors, not surprisingly, the artwork here. But it's not something you always notice, but I notice it quite heavily with certain Lorwyn cards. Okay, so Llanowar Wastes. I don't know how much more I can add to this in terms of doing anything different than I've done previous weeks, because we've seen these multiple times now. Over the course of the series, because these are, reprints. If we look at the first printing, you'll see we would have featured these way back on when I've done episodes on set musings, and we did do an Apocalypse era. But the nice thing with 10th edition is all of them were reprinted for that. So if we go into is it 10E or 10? Yeah, there you go. So yeah, all of them. Yep, so there's our white-black one. Treetop Village. Again, something else we've looked at. Cycle of these in 10th edition. But originally from Urza. There you go. Gemstone Mine. So that's from way back in Weatherlight, but in fact I've got the wrong artwork here, haven't I? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so it's this one. So because that was time shifted. Okay, so unique counter, and we've definitely been down that rabbit hole. And these sort of rainbow lands, so anything that's capable of let's just have a look. There we go. And I know we must have had a look at this several times now, I imagine, because you can see the set in terms of the sets that we've covered in the past. So where did I? Yeah, definitely. So here, Gemstone Mine, we would have spoken about. I imagine there was a deck that would have featured this around the time of Weatherlight. This is interesting. Thran Quarry. End of each turn, if you control no creatures, sacrifice Thran Quarry. Add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. And we got a couple here from Plane Shift. I like the artwork on this. How much are these? 215. What was in a Commander product? So it's this interesting filter effect on it. So 5 mana composed of any composition of mana. Can be colourless, can be particular colours of mana, and then that filters to Urborg. But you can also just add 1 colourless mana to your mana pool. Tarnished Citadel, add 1 colourless mana to your mana pool. Add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Tarnished Citadel does 3 damage. This is a tap land. It does damage when you generate the 1 mana of any colour bit. Add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Oh yeah, these Glimmer Void. This Glimmer Void, sacrifice it if you control no artifacts. Forbidden Orchard. 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Whenever you tap it, put a 1/1 colourless spirit creature token into play under target opponent's control. And that's still fairly pricey, just under $10. It's been reprinted a few times. Did turn up in Commander 2016, albeit with different artwork. Now, yeah, I skipped over this a bit, but of course we've got City of Brass here and Rainbow Vale. And, yeah, fascinating things like this. This just sort of bounces around. Yeah, and the price is all over the shop. It's been reprinted quite a few times. It's cropped up in some core sets. Oh, yeah, Vivids. See, these are nice because these ones, you know, if you get rid of all the counters, it doesn't blow up. Comes into play with 2. And then once you've got rid of the counters, you can just still access, you know, each of the particular colours of mana. So that's pretty cool. And not surprisingly, these end up in Commander product precons fairly regularly. And you've got Pillar of the Purons. 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to play multicoloured spells. Ancient Ziggurat. I've got that in at least one heavy, like 5 colour creature based deck, I think. It was in the Slivers premium deck as well. Haven't seen it in a Commander precon yet. And then of course things like Rupture Spire, Transguild Promenade. These seemingly get reprinted quite a few times, or it feels like that anyway. And there's a slight difference with these. So they both come into play tapped. Transguild Promenade. Actually, are they functional? Yeah, hang on. Comes into play, sacrifice unless you pay 1. Oh, it's just, yeah, the wording's slightly different because of the time period. Okay, that's all. But it's essentially the same, isn't it? Yeah. So, play tapped. You have to pay 1 or they blow up when they come in. And then, once they're untapped, they come online, then 1 mana of any colour. Cavern of Souls. Mana Confluence, Corrupted Crossroads, Spire of Industry. I just love looking at these cards. This is interesting. Unclaimed Territory, where you choose a creature type. So this is good in, you know, creature tribal stuff. This one did end up in a Commander product. Lotus Field, Gateway Plaza. Yeah, another one of these comes into play tapped. When it enters the battlefield, sacrificing this, you pay 1. So yeah, there's a few functional reprints of that template. Yeah, there's another one. There's another creature type one as well. So yeah, pretty interesting. And you got the World Tree. Okay, moving on. Urborg, which we've looked at. Other one that was, yeah, this Blanket of Night, which is the enchantment, because we looked at this last weekend, previous weeks. This land conversion business. Oh, there's another one of the deals 1 damage to you when you access the green or white. So we've got all 3 of those in this deck. Horizon Canopy, you can see here when it was reprinted, they reprinted it in a regular frame. A cycle of these Horizon lands. So there's the original, and then they completed the cycle in what's that, Modern Horizons. Yep, so it'll be that one. And then this had different artwork now. That's interesting. What they did for the expeditions. Oh yeah, Pendelhaven. What's that? -1 over 1 synergy. Okay. What is that? Curious. It's an interesting tag. Oh yeah, these legendary lands. Yep, from Legends. Wow. Cool. Okay, where are we? Ah, good old Llanowar Elves. I didn't miss anything out here. Right. 10th edition. Yes. Reprinted a few times now. Let's have a look. Okay. What have we got? Oh yeah, look at this. This is going back in time. Yeah. This I forgot about this artwork from 7th edition as well. Yeah, so it's been reprinted a number of times over the years. So through the original core sets, and then we get into, what is it, 5th edition, and then 6th edition through There we go, 7th edition, 9th. So we skip 8th by the look of things, and then into 10th, and the modern core sets, whatever you want to call them, I suppose. M10, M11, 12, and then cropping up in a few special sets and dual decks and other things as well. But always there, and of course there's, you know, variations on that, you know, functional reprints of that. So let's just see down here, the tag side of things, what to expect. So yeah, so there's an identical token for this. I don't know if you've seen it. Cycle of Spell Shapers from Future. I think I'm going to look at that. We've got Mana Dorks. We've got Elvish Mystic. And so these are all the ones where it's similar to. So you've got Elvish Mystic, Druid of the Cowl, Findorn Elves, Llanowar Tribe, Priest of Titania, and then also Better Than Orderland Mystic, and then we've got references here, so Llanowar Mentor, Llanowar Lone Speaker, Llanowar Tribe, Llanowar Visionary, so that's pretty cool. And then we are, where are we? Here we go. Okay, yeah, this. So let's see what this is all about. Oh, here we go. Cycle spell shaped from foot. Okay. So this must be Urborg plus plus an artifact. Spark Elemental. Okay, Tarmogoyf, which we've looked at numerous times on previous weeks. So yeah, future mechanic reference. Well, yeah, same sort of thing. Souls of Lost, it's similar to card types in Graveyard Matters, of which there are, you know, several cards, and as we saw and looked at last week, yeah, there's a number of different keywords that have that in their, you know, rules in their reminder, and they do that. So particularly here you can see Delirium, and if you look at it on a timeline on here, whoops, then it's a bit easier to see where that sort of thing came in, which was, yeah, here. If we go release date ascending, and then we get Delirium. If we're looking at first printings. And then if we flip it, that's the most recent one. Right. Oh, good old. Right, so now we're on to Planeswalkers. So here's Garruk. Let's see what tags we've got for that. So yeah, the Lorwyn 5. And they've been reprinted a few times in different guises. So if we do this, yep, these would have not come up before in deck musings, because we wouldn't have had a deck, I don't think, with Planeswalkers in it till now. So yeah, Johnny, Chandler, Nala, Garruk Wildspeaker, Jace, Bellerin, and Liliana Vess. Now I'm trying to remember, in the case of Chandra, I know she was in the dual decks. For some reason I thought that one of these was in the Yeah, there we go. The Jewels of the Planeswalker promo deck. So Garruk was in one. They didn't put them in everything. I don't know if I can't remember if they put different Planeswalkers in, but I do remember Garruk being in this, because I'm in the promos, yeah. But I'm not sure. See, I do have a promo deck for this, but I can't remember which one. Probably need to dig that out again. I should check and see if I've revisited that at some point. Maybe. So, going back, what else? So yeah, repeatable token generator, untapper of land. It's got ramp, obviously through this. Yeah, pretty powerful. But as I've said, looks a bit odd in Lorwyn. Yeah, this cycle generally. Huntsman's Redemption, which was what a saga. Oh, he was overrun on it as well. So yeah, all the good stuff. And of course over time, the various types, type of Garruk, or all the others have had tweaks. So Jace certainly, no doubt we'll see the later Jace in this series as I go through and see the sort of tournament decks that, the later sort of version of Jace turned up in, and I'm sure anything with blue in it is going to feature that. Wasn't it the case that at one point decks that weren't necessarily plain blue, splash blue, to play a copy of any copy of Jace that was legal in standard at that time, just so they could leverage the legendary rule to basically remove it, because there was a bit of a problem about removing planeswalkers until there was stuff present in standard that could remove the tokens fairly easily as well. So yeah, something we need to keep an eye out actually in future episodes is the sort of evolution of the planeswalker and how that changed over time. So I'll save that. I won't do it now. I'll save that for later episodes because I don't want to run out of ideas. So Thoughtseize, right, this is going to be interesting. There was quite a while for this being reprinted. But yeah, it's you choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card, you lose 2 life. So again, there's other cards in Magic that do this discard, but it's cool that it has its own Magic slang now. Talk about Thoughtseizing an opponent. So let's see how the tag is used in Scryfall, and what they consider to be under that banner of Thoughtseize. I didn't look there to see. Yeah, opponent reveals their hand and you choose a card for them to discard. So it's not a random choice. It's not a choice they make. It's a choice that you make. So that's different from any other sort of discard cards where the other two apply. So first time we saw it would have been in Ice Age then. But it's quite conditional. Also, it's interesting. It's an enchantment. Okay, we got Abandoned Hope, Discordant Dirge. Some of these are enchantments. Mind Warp. So X3 black. Look at the target player's hand and choose X cards from it. That player discards them. Encroach, Extortion, Unmask. Then we've got some stuff here, multicoloured stuff. So blue-black, Ostracize. Another one that does this. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. Choose a creature card from it. That player discards that card. Single black. And we got some creatures where it's stapled to it. So there's a Spectre there. And of course that's forcing an opponent to discard cards from their hands. Very much something that crops up on Spectres, and we'll see it again in a moment because we've got a Spectre on a deck, and we'll see how that sort of deals with the choice of what to discard. Oh, there's blackmail there with braids. I'm assuming that's braids there. We've got Castigate, and then we're moving through here. So where did our Thoughtseize go? Did I mess up here? Hold on. Forgot to do that. That's a bit better. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I thought it looked a bit strange. I thought Mind Warp was a lot older. So yeah, that's better. Yeah, there's Jura. Okay, now it makes more sense. Yeah, I forgot to do his first printing. Okay. Yeah, Mind Slash. I wonder what stuff was missing. Then there's Mesmeric Fiend. So Creature, Nightmare, Horror. That came up when we were talking about the No Hand, No Land deck, I believe. Hollow Spectre, Cabal Interrogator, Thought Prison, Pulse of the Dross. Yeah, this is much better now. Thinking we're missing a few cards here. Right. There's Thoughtseize, there's Noggin Whack. Splitting Headache. Yeah, it was coming up a few times, wasn't it? In this, was it Lorwyn, into Morningtide, into Shadowmoor, and then into Eventide. Bit in the Shards block there. There's Zendikar. It's almost like it is occurring. Yeah, there's at least one card in a block, even almost per set, that does this form of hand disruption, where you're getting, you get to choose the card that your opponent discards. So 119 of those. Now generally discard itself is a lot broader church. There's a lot more cards that just do discard, and then there's variations on that. But if I just out of curiosity, historically, the card I'm looking for, so there's Hypnotic Specter, so that's a random one. Disrupting Scepter is the opponent gets to choose that you're targeting, and the one I was curious about is Hymn to Torak, which is 2 cards, and that's random. Yeah, and you can see the spectres. So here's Abyssal Spectre. Chooses a card, discards. Player chooses a card and discards a card from his or her hand. And then Hypnotic Spectre was random. So, as we scroll through, you might see the different ways that spectres do this. Okay. Oh, there's another. I must have misplaced that. I was trying to keep all the land together, but this is interesting because this is a new type of land, I believe, that we haven't necessarily seen before. So in terms of other lands, other dual lands, then it's worse than a Bayo because there's an additional condition here, but better than a Foul Orchard, which is the one that comes into play tapped. So these come into play tapped if you don't reveal an elf card. So we've got, let's have a look at this. tribal dual lands, and you can see another thing here we haven't looked at before. It's first printing. Do that by colour. Ascending. Okay, so the white blue one was Merfolk. You had to reveal to stop it from coming in tapped. Oh, this is lovely artwork, isn't it? Secluded Glen was the blue-black. Black-red was Auntie's Hovel. Black-green was Gilt-Leaf Palace, which is the one in the deck. And then Ancient Amphitheatre was the red-white one. And so those are... What have we got? These are allied, aren't they? Yeah, allied colours. So... What are these clocking as? So what are we seeing? Oh yeah, quite a variability there. What, between about $2 up to just nearly $8? It's funny. Yeah. Yeah, if you're playing Giant Tribal, then cool. And it was also in the Commander 2015 deck, and because of it being in the 2015 deck, and that happened to be in the anthology as well, then in there. Okay. That's amusing. Right. Tribal dual land. What's the difference between... Oh, I see. Right, so there's a number of... Let's have a look at that. Did I? Yeah, I did. Okay, so what else have we got here? Ah, okay. So that's interesting. So those are the ones we've looked at. So Murmuring Bosk was from Morningtide, and that was Tree Folk. Oh, but it also did damage. Okay. So, how much is that? 213 for the original one. Primal Bellow. Yeah, this one is the Primal Beyond. Is the elemental one. I should check. I wonder if I've got that in that elemental EDH deck I've got. Not sure. And then Rustic Clachan, Kithkin one, but it's mono-coloured and has reinforce as well. Oh, okay, that. I was going to say few. Yeah, on target creature. Oh dear, imagine that. Imagine what that would be like in that in standard with the flipping planeswalkers, if that was, you know, a counter on anything, any counter. Whoops. Yeah. Don't know if you'd want that. Right, good old Birds of Paradise. Bolt the Bird. Yep, commonly nicknamed Evasion. It's a mana dork, of which there are many mana dorks. Yeah, similar to Gilded Goose. So this is a 0/2 for a single green. It has flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you create a food token. But also you can sacrifice food and add 1 mana of any colour, and you can do 1 and a green to create a food token as well. So, oh yes, Paradise Plume. But pretty high cost to cast that. You get life gain off of it. Ornithopter of Paradise. Oh yeah, this one. I was on a crypt creature, so where was that from? It was Fifth Dawn, okay. I had a feeling it was from one of those sets. like the original Lorwyn block. Oh, these cards were redesigned last minute for alpha, not play tested and designed to use. Mix up leftover art. Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah. Let's just go in here and see how the artwork has changed over the years for this particular card. What did I do there? I did something wrong, didn't I? That's better. Okay, let's flip this. Here's our original one. Oh yeah, I remember the one from 7th edition, and then we've got 8th. It's the same artwork, but yeah. It is interesting, isn't it? I mean, I'm assuming they've slightly rebalanced the colour there, but yeah, it is the same artwork. Yeah, then this one used all the way through to here. This is pretty cool. M11 one. There's a foil version. It's an interesting tail there. Birds of Paradise. Right, so Doran the Siege Tower. Here we go. What are the namesake cards? Butt Strike, that's funny. Yep, so there's a cycle of tribal legends in here, but wasn't it the case that their sort of colour balance was all over the shop? Stout Arm, Doran the Siege Tower. Let's just put this in, see if there is anything here. Okay. So we do have a 2-colour cycle here. So white, blue, blue, black, black, red, green, white, black, green, red, white. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But it gets a bit weird, doesn't it? So allied, 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 allied. It's enemy. Enemy. 3 colour and then 5 colour. Okay. Curious. Did I make a... It's now made me think about this. Did I make a mistake here by saying I did, didn't I? So yeah, I didn't spot that. I keep forgetting with this set, it was a little odd, wasn't it? That it was 3... That's right, yeah, 3 allied colour combinations and then 2 enemy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I missed that. Was there anything else I wanted to add to this? I don't think so. Oh yeah, that was it, butt strike. Creature sign damage equal to their toughness. 18 butt strike cards. When did butt strike become a thing in Magic? Release date ascending. Doran. Oh yeah, it was on Plane Chase. It's conspiracy. Yeah, so these are ones, so the specific thing with this is that when it assigns combat damage, that's when that comes in. It's not completely swapping the power toughness, which other cards do as well. So, Shriekmaw. So this was part of these evoke creatures, or one of several evoke creatures. Very similar to Ravenous Chupacabra, in as much as, you know, when it enters the battlefield it destroys target creature and opponent controls. However, there's no chance to get this out and just, you know, do the removal bit without the creature. And underneath it all, in terms of, you know, what it does, its ETB ability is terror. So it's, yeah, terror with a body. But yeah, there are a number of evoke creatures in this particular set. I think the block as a whole as well. And the Oracle text says evoke. Yep, 12. Let's try and put that by colour sorting. Okay, so we got two of each, but the, yeah, so two in each colour, but there is a variety on the rarity. I mean, these are all commons. The black one, Shriekmaw, is actually uncommon. The red one, again, common and uncommon. Actually, there's four. Yeah, sorry, there's four. So, yeah, so four red ones then. Okay, and then just two in green, uncommon, and then rare. But we've got this in the deck. So I'm wondering if any of these were I should be able to tell if either of these. Yeah, it doesn't it seem to, it doesn't appear to me that they were a cycle. Or at least they're not tagged up as such in here. It's not to say they weren't correct, you know, they'd end up in it as a cycle in something else. Okay. Oh, Ohran Viper from Cold Snap. Curiosity, okay. Oh yeah, it was old Damage Death Touch because it needed to fit in with the whole backstory about this being a lost set from, what, Ice Age era? Yeah, so old Damage Death Touch. What's this? Curiosity. Draw cards when dealing damage to an opponent. Okay. Is that something we've looked at before? I don't think it is, no. So, when was Curiosity a thing? Ophidian, Curiosity, Luzon, Scholar General, Thieving Magpie, Coastal Piracy, Sleeper's Robe, Fungal Shambler, Shadow Maze Infiltrator, Histrodon, Mask of Memory, Sword of Ice and Fire and Ice, sorry. The other thing as well, yeah, here we go. I could have sworn I've actually talked about this before in one of these episodes. So there we have Old Damage Death Touch. And we do see it, you can see here. So that then raises the question, I suppose, when did Death Touch as a keyword first appear? Huh. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. So yeah, there was a change over here, wasn't there? Okay. So Cold Snap would have been before this, basically. But as we saw, there's still cards in Magic that have the old style. Creepy doll. What did I do there? That's better. City Dagger. So I'm just looking at where that would appear here. So yeah, so really after this, there's only been 2 instances where they've used that old style Death Touch once. New style Death Touch kicked in, which is Creepy Doll and Green Dragon. Okay, good to know. This was what was this? Oh, Curiosity, okay. Right, Profane Command. So this was a cycle, wasn't it? I think, yeah. So it does a number of things, because you get to choose 2, but there's 4 different things in total, I think. So yeah, loses life, return a target creature card from the graveyard, minus, and fear, and they're all scaled on X, which is here. Okay, Black Sun's Twilight. Oh, that's right. Right, so how did this look? So you can see here, this is the new style template for anything where, it was, I'm assuming, what's that, 2013, these came out. Yeah, there must have been some point where they changed this out and changed the structure. But it was definitely, must have been after Commander 2013, because Commander 2013 still has the old style. So firstly, let's just look at how these cards looked under the old regime. There you go. So it's still austere command. So artifact destruction or converted mana cost less or more. Artifacts. Oh yeah, so either artifacts or enchantments or creatures less than or creatures more than. The cryptic command was counter target spell or target permanent to the owner's hand, or tap all creature opponent cards or draw a card. Profane we've already looked at. Incendiary command was 4 damage or 2 damage to each creature, or destroy target non-basic land, or each player discards all the cards in their hand, then discards that many cards. Okay, so that's like a Wheel of Fortune, isn't it, I think? Similar to that. And then Primal Command, so 7 life or... Okay, bouncing a non-creature permanent onto the top of its owner's library, or target player shovels his or her graveyard into his or her library, or search the library for a creature card. Wow. And quite difference in the casting costs. So 4/2 white, 1 and 3 blue, X and a double black, 3 and a double red, and 3 and 2 green. But in all cases, you've got at least 2 of the particular colour. And again, of course, just to remind you, you do get to choose 2. Oh yeah, Eyeblight's ending. I wonder what this is going to be tagged up as. Probably, yeah, removal creature destroy, H tribal non-elf, and alliteration. So yeah, it's a removal with a twist. So we've spoken about various cards that mono black cards, but they have a condition on them where it might be destroy non-black, non-artifact, or in this case destroy non-elf creature or destroy non-something. Oh look, we've got 2 here. It's particularly for non-elves. That one came from Magic Origins. It's got it on a ETB there. Nameless Inversion. I wonder what this has been tagged up as. Oh, Flowstone. Yeah. So, type change because of this bit. What do we got? Lash of Malice. So that's a +2, -2, but without the changing of a creature type instant. Is that single black? This is 1 and a black. Spatial Contortion. What was that from? So same +3, -3, but this is 1 and... Is that Eldrazi mana? Oh, colour. Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, that's when they did that thing, wasn't it? With I'm getting muddled up here. Yeah, colourless mana. So just to differentiate between, mana that was specifically colourless and mana that was mana of any colour. Yeah, that's right. Because they did that thing with changing the mana rocks as well. Okay, so I was going to look under Flowstone, but I just wanted to go back here and have a look, see if there's anything else. Oh, because it has this sort of different, specific type is mentioned, even though it's not like a creature card. Right. Bedrock. Bedazzle. Flowstone. Abilities that grant +N, -N, and or -N. Okay. And yeah, that was a thing. You can see we have looked at this before. No doubt around the time of Flowstones. And there's a few things like other modal cards like Funeral Charm. Oh, there's our Flowstones. Tempest. It had a asymmetric effect. Yeah, here on Morphling. Wasn't there a later one than Morphling as well? I got it on Skull Clamp, of course. There's Piracy Charm, which is colour shifted. Torchling is another one. And Thornling. Etherling, yeah, that was the one I was trying to think of as well. With where it's just part of a modal. And there's a lot of them. Oh, there's the Brightling. Okay. So do they... Yep. The cycle of Morphlings. That's a pretty... Time-wise, isn't that a pretty broad... Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, they all have the +1, -1 on them, don't they? Yeah, so Urza, Plane of Chaos, Conflux, Battle Bond, funnily enough, and Modern Horizons. Okay. The original's a bit expensive. Liliana. The other planeswalker in here. Yep, Lorwyn 5. So, okay, so she made a reappearance in the M15 one then. Okay. Reanimate on this, discard, reanimate for an E, cheat at the top. Anagram. And then, let's look at this cycle then. So interesting they're in here. Let's look at the M15 artwork. There we go. So I didn't really point it out on the other one, but you know, with the Planeswalker cards, you see that the artwork, albeit dialed back, bleeds down into here. But also, you can see here, it's bleeding over. Like they're bigger than the frame. The frame cannot contain them. So what I'm going to do is go into here. So I'm curious here. So see what they've been reprinted in. Oh, they were the Comic-Con ones, weren't they? Although not consistently. Were they all done in... There's looking to see, was that the 2014 set? Yeah, it was. Yeah, okay, so they were in the 2014 one. Interesting. Ah, good old Hypnotic Specter. That's one of my favourite Magic the Gathering cards. I really like this format, and this is sort of where I remember it from. This and well, the one we're looking at, which is, where's it gone? 10th edition, the same artwork basically. 10th edition. Discard, random discard, Saboteur, which we looked at before. What's that? Okay. Funny. Yep, so these are all the random discard cards. Let's compare that with the Thoughtseize type discard. And this also includes Doran Rock. And things like Black Cat as well. And it gives you an idea, like if you do type Spectre. So those are all the spectres that have random discard on them. If we were just interested in the spectres which I just mentioned discard in some way, somewhere in here, then you can sort of see there's 21 in total out of a total number of 27 spectres. So not all spectres are discard. Not all spectres cause discard, and then within that subset of those that do cause discard, not all of them are random. Only a few on a subset. Rift Sweeper. I don't know if I've got anything more to add about this. It's come up several times. But yeah, you can recurse stuff from exile. Very handy. And there's Cloud Thresher. We already looked at some evoke cards. So it's, yeah, if you're familiar with Magic, you'll probably recognise this sort of hurricane effect on here, of which there are 34 cards in Magic which have a hurricane effect on them, including, not surprisingly, Hurricane itself. There we go. You got things like Tropical Storm, but you can see there's several creatures here that it's been stapled to, and you probably also noticed that predominantly there's a lot of green cards here, and but you probably see that there are a few mono red cards where it's a thing. A few red green. There's a white one here, but it's got the activation cost is in green. And Windstorm, so there's X and a green. It is an instant now. Hurricane is at sorcery speed. And with the one we were looking at, which is, did I not do, I did do his first printing. Why are we not seeing, oh, no. What have I done wrong here? Oh, there it is. Didn't go down far enough. This does have flash on it. So yeah. So out of these, there's the instance, and then the creatures that do it. Oops. Are those, but out of these, I think. So you've got these ones, which obviously you can just activate. Where it's on an ETB, I think, is that the only flash creature? Yeah, it is. But like I said, some of these it's on, you know, in the it's costed, so you can just activate it, do it that way. But doesn't mean, I suppose, your opponent can see it coming. Yep, Serrated Arrows gives so minus counters. It mirrors weapon rack, so it's a unique counter. But there's quite a number of cards because of things like Wither and other -1 shenanigans. Now the whole minus thing, if we look historically, we're not so going to be surprised to see that as we move through Magic. So here's where it's originally future shifted, or not, well, time shifted from, for the set that it was in to enable it to be played in Standard. But as you go through and we get into this period, you can see in Shadowmoor, which is one of the sets after Lorwyn, I think it's 2 sets after Lorwyn, we're seeing the presence of -1 counters, both just mentioned and then as a part of the reminder text for Wither. So yeah, so I suppose when we saw it become associated with some sort of keyword, but it had been used before that. You know, it was used a few times in Homelands and Fallen Empires. That's Ice Age. That is Arabian Nights. And then after we see it a lot here in Shadowmoor, you can see, we then get it in the follow-up set to Shadowmoor, part of the mini Shadowmoor block, which was Eventide, because there were two set blocks, mini blocks, and quite a number of them again, you can see, either as part of Wither or just mentioned about -1 counters. See how I look. And then we get it here in Scars of Mirrodin, because that's how they were doing counters there, -1 as Infect. But again, combination of part of the Infect reminder text as part of the infect mechanic ability, but also just specifically referencing it as well, and you're all over that set. And then again leading into Mirrodin Besieged. And then into New Phyrexia. And we do see it in Amonkhet. You can see there. Although I don't see it specifically mentioning like a ability. at this point. It's all just straight reference to -1/-1 counters. And then after that, it comes into our Devastation, which was like the follow-on set. And then we get it in Modern Horizons. Okay. Loxodon Warhammer. Originally from Mirrodin. Original Mirrodin. Similar to Yawgmoth Sledge. That's the green-white one. Does +2/+2 and trample and lifelink. Better than Butcher's Cleaver. Better than Greatsword. I'm just thinking generally about, stuff that gives lifelink, but I suppose specifically, seeing as that is an artifact. Artifacts that do it. So, oops. Remember, they're all important. First printing. So yeah, Loxodon Warhammer, Yawgmoth Sledge. I was trying to remember where that's from. It's Alara Reborn, and then Basilisk, which had Death Touch and Lifelink. Batterskull, Butcher's Cleaver, Whip of Erebos, Shadow Spear. Some of these I recognise more than others. I mean, really, these I recognise the most. Through to about here. Nath of the Gilt-Leaf, which was a legendary creature, elf warrior from Lorwyn. Got a bit sloppy here towards the end, didn't I? Yep. Lorwyn Tribal Legend. Discard. So that was these ones which we already had a look at. Stupor again, which we've seen crop up a few times. It was a rather conveniently time-shifted card, another discard here in the sideboard. So yeah, better than Mind Rot, worse than Mind Twist. Another random discard card, or has half of it is a random discard. And then Oblivion Ring. So it's a really interesting removal spell on an enchantment. But if if it gets blown up, the actual creature comes back. Banish non-land. Similar to Banishing Light. And reference by Journey to Oblivion. So if let's look at Banish non-land. 33 non-land banishes. And first time we see it is Oblivion Ring. It's also Detention Spear, Banishing Light, which was mentioned, Quarantine Field, Cast Out. And yeah, many of these are done in a slightly different way. And a few different pieces of artwork. They reprinted it in Shards of Alara. turned up in Plane Chase, Arch Enemy. That would have been online. It was in the Knights vs Dragons deck. Commander 2011, M12, Venser versus Koth, M13. This looks like an MTGO. Yeah, it's a promo. And then this was Modern Masters 2015. So there we have it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. It's good to look at, you know, a number. I mean, it was a bit of a mixed bag here, wasn't it? We had a number of stuff that, yeah, we've definitely, at the very least, spoken about the previous week, particularly in the mana base, at the very least. And then, yeah, there's a few other cards that, as I've been saying, you know, the usual suspect type stuff that were ending up in sideboards, in tournament decks. And of course a lot of that was really help. I think, you know, it looks like sideboard utility seems to have been really helped out by this sort of period in Magic, the time shifted business, and some of the sort of quirky, unusual cards that were cropping up in those, you know, Time Spiral, Future Sight, the block that those were in at that time period. So yeah, interesting to see. So I'll be curious to see what comes up next week. Nothing's going out, but of course we're going to get more of this mini block coming in. So thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.